dieses Gefechtes vorstellen. Supervisor dieses Matchups ist Rainer Hanisch aus Deutschland. Sollte der Kampf über die volle Distanz gehen, sind die 3 Punktrichter Holger Wiemann, Timo Habichhorst und Jörg Illenseer, alle 3 aus Deutschland. Wir kommen zur blauen Ecke. Er ist 34 Jahre alt, brachte gestern beim Wiegen hier in Cuxhaven 115,5 Kilogramm auf die Waage. Er misst 1,92 Meter. Er ist Profi seit 2010 und er ist ungeschlagen. Sein Kampfrekord: 15 Kämpfe, 15 Siege, 13 Mal gewann er durch K.O. Aus Sao Paulo, Brasil, Irineu Costa Junior.
So Irineu Costa, I should say.
Gentleman in the red corner, in der roten Ecke. Er ist 27 Jahre alt, brachte gestern beim Wiegen 113,1 Kilogramm auf die Waage und misst stattliche 1,90 Meter. Er ist Profi seit 2008. Er hat einen großartigen Kampfrekord von 19 Kämpfen, 16 Siege, 10 Mal gewann er durch K.O. Er ist der ehemalige WBO-Europameister aus Hamburg und aus dem Boxstall EC Boxing, Christian Hammer.
And there's Christian Hammer, originally from Galati in Romania, now based in Hamburg in Germany.
Der Ringrichter dieser Partie, ladies and gentlemen, the referee in charge of the action is Mr. Holger Wiemann from Berlin, Germany, Berlin, Deutschland.
And apart from those 2 losses against Bedenko and Vach, the only other defeat on the record of Hammer was his debut, which he retired in the first round. He obviously had a problem on that occasion. But he's up against a big man here, about 1.5 inches taller than he is.
12 rounds in the heavyweight division, ladies and gentlemen. 12 Runden im Schwergewicht. Seconds out, ringfrei.
And don't forget, the bigger they come, the harder they hit you. So round 1 of a scheduled 12. Quite know why it's a 12-rounder is beyond me. There's no title at stake here, despite the fact that Irineu Costa is the reigning WBO Latino heavyweight champion. He's made 1 defense of that title. Doesn't mean a lot, of course, and it won't count here because, unfortunately for, well, not unfortunate at all, but Christian Hammer is not a Latino. And it'd be interesting to see, Richie, how this man hands himself at 34 years of age with an undefeated 15-fight record.
Well, Hammer will be the toughest opponent that Costa will have faced, Steve. And the first time he's boxing in Europe, so it's going to be difficult for Costa. But let's not forget, he's got those 13 knockouts on his record. And although the level of opposition has been quite poor compared to Hammer, he's still knocked the guys out. So let's not forget that. This guy, Costa, will and does carry a big punch.
Yes, indeed. Every one of his fights, by the way, bar 1, have taken place in Brazil. He has fought once in Argentina. This is his first trip, as Richie said, to Europe. And maybe he's just taking a look here at Hammer, just to see what this man's made up before deciding what to do. This is round 1 of a scheduled 12. Could be a long night, this. But having said that, being heavyweights, it could be a short one. Only takes 1 shot, and when you're this big and this heavy, anything could happen.
Well, Costa, he's been outboxed at the moment, but just playing that peekaboo style, isn't he? Just edging forward.
One thing that bothers me about Costa, he hasn't boxed since January of this year. And that's a fair whack, you know. That's almost a year out of action.
Well, Hammer started very positive here, Steve, on that jab, and he's up the work rate. But Costa just keeps trying to walk him down, and you have to ask the question, is he walking him down to try and land that big shot? Keeping his elbows well tucked in, he's got a good guard, so a lot of these punches from Hammer actually hitting the arms and elbows of Costa.
Yeah, he's got a good guard, hasn't he?
Just taking a look,
oh,
that's a
nice
good shot.
Jab there. Well, I've got to say, Hammer looks very confident.
It's a good start from Hammer. He's working very well. He's got to keep his left hand up a little bit higher. Maybe Costa trying to walk forward. He might just target that right hand of his, because Hammer has got a low left hand, but nevertheless a clear round there for Hammer. Confident start.
Absolutely. Now, question, Richie Woodall. Has everyone that Costa has boxed so far been absolutely middle of the road, or not even that? Or could it be the Hammer's the best he's ever fought?
I think it will be that. I mean, in Costa's 9th fight, he actually boxed someone who was making his debut. You know, in something like his 13th, 14th fight, he's boxing someone, Salinas Pereira, who was 2-1-1. So the level of opposition has been very, very poor, if anything. But he's still knocked guys out left, right and centre, so he has got power.
Yes, and he fought a man in, I think, his 10th or 11th fight who was making his debut.
Exactly, yeah.
But having said that, he did fight someone once who had 10-0 back in 2011. He fought, you know, and he beat them in 8 rounds, so, you know.
That was his best win, wasn't it, against Mateus Redondo?
Yep. But we don't know what Redondo was like, despite the fact he won 10 straight.
He's 10-0. It was for the WBC Latino heavyweight title. And he retired that opponent in the 8th round.
Anyway, back to the action here. This is round 2 of this proposed scheduled 12-rounder. And we're looking at Christian Hammer in the silver shorts in action here against Irineu Costa from Brazil. Sao Paulo, to be exact. Which I understand is the busiest part of Brazil, Richie.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how Brazil and Rio are going to cope with the Olympics in 2016. Really looking forward to that. Everything's been put in place now and getting on with the building.
Well, I'm coming with you. Have we seen, Richie, the best that Costa can do?
I don't think we've seen anything, Steve, to be quite honest. The way he's walking forward, he hasn't really thrown a lot. He's took a few shots, that's a little bit better, although he misses the target. I think he's just got to be a little bit more active. If he was taking a look in that first round, well, I'm expecting him now to start opening up a little bit.
Well, he knows this is a long fight, despite the fact that, you know, plenty of 10-rounders on the record of Hammer, and of course 3 12-rounders. So, you know, he's no stranger to that, despite the fact that he's never actually done 12 rounds. He's done 10 in his last 2 fights. So, you know, every chance he'll do the 12 without any trouble.
And Costa, with all those knockouts he has got, Steve, in his last contest, remember, he went 12 rounds. So he'll have that confidence that he can go the distance. And maybe this is part of the plan, where he's just saving himself a little bit here, because his work rate is very, very low at this stage.
Well, just a little flash there of potential from Irineu. And not a bad performance so far, I've got to say, from Christian Hammer. There's also a fighter called Christina Hammer, isn't there? No relation.
No relation at all.
So another round in the bag there, I'd say, for Hammer, 2018 in his favour. So, Irineu Costa, well, is he saving it all for later on? I wonder. He hasn't really expended himself yet, Richie, has he?
No, low work rate. Not a lot coming from Costa at all. Good round for Hammer. Still very early. Look, just taking those shots on the gloves is Costa. I think Hammer has got to work probably his opponent's body a little bit more now. But nevertheless, he's fully in control, Steve.
Absolutely. But, you know, Costa may have a trick or two up his sleeve. As I said earlier, you know, possibly just waiting to see what Hammer's all about. So here we go then, round 3 of this potential 12-rounder. And just a reminder, if you've just joined us, we're looking at Christian Hammer in the silver and black shorts in action here against the man who's come all the way from Brazil. Irineu Costa is the name. And he is the reigning WBO Latino heavyweight champion, whatever that means. He's undefeated in 15 fights. Hammer, well, he's had 16 himself. Sorry, 16 wins, 3 losses. Been stopped a couple of times and won 10 inside the limit of 19 outings. So slightly more experience, but not got a clean slate by any means. Any predictions, Richie?
I think Hammer's probably just got to up the work rate a little bit as regards to throwing a few more combinations, Steve. It's a lot of single shots, still early on in this contest. He's in against an experienced man, so I think he's probably got to test him in terms of work rate. Yeah, and like I say, I'd like to see him work the body a little bit more, but having said that, if you look at Costa's shorts and his protector, they're very high indeed, so he might be struggling to actually land those body shots. If you look at the elbow, see there, that's one round the side there.
But the solar plexus isn't defended in any way apart from those elbows. And also worth remembering that Hammer is 7 years younger at 27.
Hammer himself is just number 9 in the WBO rankings, isn't he? Whereas Costa, as we said, he just sneaks in at number 15. So he's expected to win this one. Of course, top of the tree, Vladimir Klitschko, the WBO champ. And also got the IBF and WBA. So he has 3 of the titles, with Bermain Stavern, the WBC heavyweight champion. Little bit better there to the body, that left hook. Probably needs a few more of those, does Hammer. And another clear round for him.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. Well, I always go on the Independent World Boxing rankings, and they've got Hammer up at number 15. And probably a little bit, you know, a little bit optimistic there, I would say.
An example there of those high shorts, I think, Steve. There's a right hand from Hammer, just
Irineu Costa Junior is Luis
on the belt line of his opponent.
Und in der roten Ecke von EC Box Promotion, Bülent Baja.
Yeah, sometimes the world rankings can be all over the place, can't they?
That's why I always rely on the Independent World Boxing rankings, yeah. And I couldn't find any mention, incidentally, of Irineu Costa.
Well, he's in at number 15 for the WBO.
Well,
he's not ranked by any other organisation.
That doesn't surprise me in the least.
And nor is Hammer. He's not ranked by any other organisation either.
But he's ranked at 15, you know, by the
independently. Yeah.
So we are, of course, in round number 4. Hard to give any credit so far, isn't it, to Costa?
It's still early on in this contest. Remember, and Costa has really soaked up everything that Hammer has thrown, and has never looked in any real trouble. So we just need to see a little bit more work from Costa. The jury's still out on him, really, because he hasn't really thrown enough for me.
Actually, Hammer's ranked number 16. And by the way, Christian Hammer is actually his real name. You couldn't be anything else, could you, other than a fighter with a name like that?
Another boxer based in Germany, but born in Romania, Christian Hammer.
Yep. Well, nothing particularly positive so far coming from Costa. Irineu Costa. You know, he's doing the old walk-down job, but not really making anything of it. And I think the last Brazilian heavyweight that was worth his salt was it Rodriguez?
Just looking there, Steve, that wasn't a bad left hook there from Hammer. But actually, Costa here, he's not having a bad round. He's actually opened up a little bit.
Yeah, he's landed one punch.
He's starting to just get a little bit of confidence.
Yeah, he's got a nice defence, hasn't he, Costa? You know, one of those defences that's hard to penetrate. If you want to take a chance, of course, and dummy him and then crack a left hook round the side or a right hand like that there, you're in with a chance, but hard to land, isn't it, against this man?
Difficult, keeps that guard up, the elbows tucked in. Difficult to penetrate the guard, as you said, Steve.
The only way you can get through with a man like this is to wait until about the 10th or 11th round when he's really tired.
A little bit better work there from Costa. First time he actually threw a three-punch combination. Took him to the 4th round to do it.
So allow me to remind you, we're looking at Christian Hammer in the red corner in action here against one Irineu Costa from Brazil. This is a 12-round contest in the heavyweight division. It's our main event tonight. So Irineu Costa from Sao Paulo in Brazil. Well, we've seen shades of what he can do, but nothing sustained so far. Is he the kind of man, Richie, that you think could unhinge Hammer?
Again, Steve, it's still, for me, fairly early in this contest, in that we haven't seen a lot from Costa. That last round there, he probably threw more shots in that last round
than the previous three.
Yeah, so he started to come out of his shell a little bit, and that may give Hammer more of a chance to land some shots because he's got a good guard. I think Hammer should definitely target the right hand after his opponent's maybe thrown the jab. But with an opponent like this that's so well guarded, you've got to draw on feinting, draw in his lead, and then countering. You really, this is a bit of a task and a challenge for Hammer here because he's got to get through this guard. See, he's not getting through those shots, so he's got to feint. He's got to feint and attack. Switch of attack, body to head. But I think he just generally got to up the work rate also and try and push Costa back. We haven't seen Costa go back too many times.
No.
So what's he like on the back foot? He's got to experiment here, Hammer. But at the same time, this guy is still a puncher, is Costa. So it's a difficult one.
But is he at this level? We know he has been a different level, I suspect. Who knows? It may be the same, it may be better.
See, that's where Hammer needs to throw. After Costa's thrown that jab, he's got to time the punch then over the top with the right hand.
And incidentally, those of you out there wondering what Richie means by fainting, doesn't mean falling over. Of course, it means pretending to do something and then doing something else. In boxing parlance,
it's to make your opponent think an attack's coming which doesn't come, and then you respond. That's better. Up to the middle there with that right uppercut.
in my case, of course, it meant falling over.
I mean, a very simple one here would be a feint with the jab to the body and then whip the right hand over.
Yeah, or a left hook to the head.
When I'm coaching younger boxers, I often say, look, jab once to the body, jab twice to the body, and then on that third one where the opponent might think another jab's coming to the body, you whip the right hand over the top. Often that can work.
Do you still do anything with the England team?
Still coaching up at GB, Steve, and enjoying every second of it.
Good man. Well, another round of it. Well, in fact, I'd say that was probably the best round so far we've seen from Hammer. You know, he picked up the pace there, didn't he?
Picked it up a little bit, put his opponent under a little bit more pressure. Costa, for me, though, still looks quite comfortable.
Indeed.
There was one right uppercut in this round. It was a good shot. Working to the body there and then switching to the left hook to the head. The right hand, there's the right uppercut. Oh, that was a nice shot through the middle. Now that made Costa go back a little bit.
Worth mentioning, by the way, last fight for Irineu Costa was a 12-round points win against Daniel Sanabria. Now, you know, he went the full 12 rounds there, lost one round for all three judges. So you can't say that that was much of an opponent. He may have been durable, you know, and gone the full route, but he didn't threaten much. And, you know, Hammer's not like that. He's a different class to that, isn't he? As we've seen. But once again, Costa, very defensively minded.
I think when the pace is slow, Steve, it's actually suiting Costa. He looks a bit of a plodder, with all respect to him, using that jab, walking forward very slowly. And that's why I think the Hammer's corner may have said to him, look, you've got to up the work rate against this guy. Put him under a little bit.
Jump on him. And he's also, I suspect, Richie, a counter-puncher. But he's not. You know, I mean, when you attack him, he doesn't do anything as a result of it. And yet when you stand off him, he doesn't generally come after you. So what is it?
He's inexperienced, Steve, that's what he is.
He's very deceptive, isn't he? You know, on his record, he looks fantastic.
It's level of opposition, though, isn't it? I think one thing I'm surprised at here is Costa should maybe target the right hand. If you see Hammer coming forward, he's starting to up the pace a little bit now, Hammer, but he's got a low left hand. He's open to that right hand counter. Will Costa find that shot? You watch when he comes forward, Hammer. Head down. Look how low his left hand is there. Look, see? Look how low it is.
But whether or not Costa has the nous to exploit that particular gap remains to be seen.
You know what, there's a little left uppercut on the inside there from Costa, and it stopped Hammer right in his tracks. That was a good punch. He still hasn't come forward since that, Hammer. Good little shot from Costa, that was.
Well, beginning now to get a bit more ambitious. Well, we did wonder whether he'd leave his attentions to slightly later, and it may be. It just may be thus, Richie. Oh, lovely uppercut there from Hammer.
Yeah, that was a good shot. And with a change in tactic and change in tempo now from Hammer, coming forward and throwing more shots, upping the work rate a little bit.
He doesn't want this guy to get any credit whatsoever for this round, does he? Well, there you are. It's a reasonably close kind of round, but I still think Hammer's nicked it.
Yeah, I think he has also. Probably the best spell there for Costa during a round. This is Hammer coming forward. Have a look. A little short right hand around the left hand of his opponent. There's the right hand.
Shot.
That was probably the best uppercut of the round. But before that, Steve, Costa landed a nice sneaky left uppercut also.
So let me just remind you, we're watching Christian Hammer, the Hamburg-based Romanian. 16 wins, 3 losses, up against Irineu Costa from Sao Paulo in Brazil, who's undefeated in 15 fights. And, well, so far it's hard to give a round against Hammer. 60-54 for Richie and I. And this is round 7 of a scheduled 12. No title at stake, which is unusual. Not unheard of, but unusual. Ordinarily, it's a 10-round fight if it's an international match, Richie, without a title.